Putin was born in 1952 in Leningrad, which was renamed Saint Petersburg after 1991. While still at the university, Putin was recruited by KGB. He worked for KGB until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. At KGB, he rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel. His last KGB job was a foreign intelligence officer, which means a spy, at the Soviet consulate in Dresden, East Germany. In his heart, Putin is still a KGB man. His inner circle are mostly his former friends from his KGB years. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Putin resigned from KGB and started a political career in his native Saint Petersburg. In 1996, he moved to Moscow to join the administration of President Boris Yeltsin. He briefly served as the director of FSB, or Federal Security Service, the successor to KGB. After FSB, Putin served as secretary of the Security Council of Russia. In August of 1999, Yeltsin appointed him the prime minister. Boris Yeltsin was the president of Russia for 2 consecutive terms from 1991 to 1999. He was the first popularly and freely elected leader in Russian history. In his second term, Yeltsin's leadership became chaotic, and his popularity sank. Putin was his 4th prime minister in 17 months. A real power was in the hands of a group of oligarchs. They manipulated and controlled Yeltsin. Yeltsin was rapidly ailing, and oligarchs wanted to ensure their power after Yeltsin. They handpicked Putin to succeed Yeltsin as president, believing that they could control him. They told Yeltsin to appoint Putin as prime minister and started to prepare him to run for president. Putin was unknown in Russia, and they needed to boost his popularity. So they staged a war in Chechnya. In September of 1999, there was a series of apartment building bombings in Moscow and some other cities. The government blamed Chechen terrorists. The new Prime Minister Putin acted decisively and forcibly. He ordered a massive air assault on Chechen cities and deployed tens of thousands of Russian troops in a scorched earth campaign. Western intelligence agencies later concluded that apartment bombings were organized by FSB, formerly KGB. The most destructive Second Chechen War was not justified. Because of his vigorous and tough response to Chechen terrorists, Putin's approval rating rose dramatically. To give him another boost, Yeltsin resigned in December of 1991, and Putin became acting president. Presidential elections were held in March of 2000. Putin won with 53% of the vote. U.S. Embassy in Moscow at that time considered those elections, quote, reasonably free and fair, unquote. That was the first ever democratic transfer of power in Russia. During Putin's first 2 presidential terms, from 2000 to 2008, the Russian economy grew at an average rate of 7% a year. That was mostly because of 5-fold increase in the price of oil and gas. But Russian people didn't know that. Their lives improved, and they contributed that to Putin. There was less democracy, but people saw this as more law and order, compared to chaotic Yeltsin days. Putin became very popular. Putin's popularity enabled him to reduce the influence of oligarchs and put many under his control. Many left Russia permanently. Russian constitution prohibits the president to serve more than 2 consecutive terms. To avoid handing power to a potential rival, Putin appointed Medvedev as the president in 2008. Putin became prime minister. Medvedev is his close long-term ally from Saint Petersburg, where both of them served in the office of the mayor. Medvedev was president from 2008 to 2012, but the real power stayed in Putin's hands. Medvedev pushed a referendum which changed the constitution to enable Putin to serve 2 more 6-year terms from 2012 to 2018 and from 2018 to 2024. In 2020, through another referendum, Putin changed the constitution again to allow him to serve 2 additional 6-year terms. In 2024, Putin was re-elected with 87% of the vote. That election was neither free nor fair. There was no real opposition. Under Putin's rule, Russian political system was transformed into an authoritarian dictatorship. To protect his power, Putin has fortified himself with several impregnable layers. He made sure that the leadership of military and the leadership of FSB or former KGB treat each other as bitter rivals. Because of the war, there is a martial law in Russia, and speaking against the war or against Putin is unpatriotic and punishable by jail. In 2016, Putin created Rosgvardia, or Russian National Guard. Its goal is to ensure internal security and public order and to combat terrorism. Gradually, Putin turned Rosgvardia into his personal Praetorian Guard. It has grown to between 200,000 and 400,000 troops. It is equipped with heavy weapons and intelligence capability. It reports directly to Putin. Its head is Viktor Zolotov, a close Putin ally and former Putin's bodyguard. So it is unlikely that Putin will be toppled by dissatisfied elite around him. Putin will not resign. He fears that his successor would send him to Hague to be tried as a war criminal in exchange for sanction relief or some other concessions. Legally, Putin can continue as president until 2036. And if he wants to continue, he will change the constitution again. Of course, he can die or become so ill that he can no longer function. What will happen then? In Russia, there is no procedure for legal succession. There is no vice president or any other institution which takes over when the president resigns or dies. So there will be a power struggle. The new leader after Putin will not be democratic. Russia will be so devastated by the years of war that only a strong central government, a dictatorship, can keep it together.